Welcome back to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain Bergman, CEO of Bridgeport Strategy. I am delighted to have a guest co host with me again today and to share a little bit about him. My guest co host is Clifford Starks. He is an amazing entrepreneur, he is an executive and leadership coach. And Clifford, I am not going to steal your thunder. I want you to I want people hearing from you. So will you share with us, please, a bit about your journey? What's brought you to this place in life and who you serve and why?
Absolutely. So I love transforming people. And the first transformation starts with yourself. I'm a lover and a fighter. Been married for 16 years, 2 kids, fought inside the UFC and in Bellator, and supported people going after big goals and big dreams, taking big actions. Specifically, I'm looking to support entrepreneurs because they are some of the biggest dreamers I've ever seen. And they have these big, audacious ideas, and I want to make those come into reality. And so the way I do it is I focus on their mind, their heart, and their skill. If you have the right mindset, if you have the right heart set, your heart's in the right place, and you have the right skills, you can do anything and everything. And so I support them in pouring into them when they need to be poured into, and getting the crap out of their head too when that needs to come out and clean it up.
Yeah. Those brain dumps, right? Get all that out of there.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And then we got Diana. Diana's actually a good friend of mine, a good support system of mine as well. And she actually keeps me on track because I see squirrels and shiny objects everywhere. It's insane. Can't help myself. But you get really good at trying to dial it in. And then you realize you don't have to do it all by yourself. You find the teammates who can support you in ways that are really hard for you to do on your own. So Diana's been a great support system for me. And what really resonated with me and her is she has something called the arena. And it's stepping into your arena, stepping into your greatness. And when you step in, it's scary, but it's worth it. And so when she brought up the arena, I was already in sync with her, but that just made the sync even tighter. But I'll let Diana take it away and share more about what she does and how she does it.
Right. Thank you, Clifford and Regina. When Clifford talks about the arena, I absolutely love the quote by Theodore Roosevelt about the man in the arena, because he actually talks about it's not the person who's criticizing, when the strong man stumbles or the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit goes to the man who's in the arena. Even if he's failing. He's striving, he's trying to know great enthusiasm and spend his time in a worthwhile, cause. And that's the thing. That's what I want to do. And that's what I want to inspire other people to do and help them do it, because I believe that everybody does want to show up. But is it fear that's holding them back? Is it a limiting belief that's holding them back? And to be able to actually overcome that so they can show up in their arena. And, the name of my business is Living Your Greatness Coaching.
Love it.
I believe that we are all designed for greatness. And all the things that we perceive as negative in our lives is actually giving us opportunities to be stronger, to be better, to be wiser. So that we can have the abundance on the other side of adversity.
Yeah.
And so I am passionate about being able to help individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners reach their highest achievement, their highest level and beyond. And one of the ways that I do that is I've had 30 years in accounting and tax preparation, and I've also built a plethora of coaching modalities, and I help people discover their superpowers, help them, create a master plan, implement that plan, break through limiting beliefs, Clifford knows I get excited, but I'm a storyteller.
I was going to say, you're not passionate about this at all, Diana. I can't see that in you.
But, like I get this information, but I'm a storyteller. That was the thing I was going to say. Is I am
Ah,
a storyteller because I truly believe that every story has a point and every point has a story.
yes,
And if I said to you, this is what you need to do, 1, 2, 3, I would probably not tell you anything that you don't already know.
right.
But if I tell you a story and you relate to the
Mm.
person that's in the story, you're going to remember that.
Oh, yes. So much better. Absolutely. Oh, awesome. Well, Clifford, thank you for inviting Diana today.
Absolutely.
We're good. No, this is going to be fun. I think the two of you have so much to offer around the subject of collaboration. And I think we're going to have a great conversation. And I'd like to start it with what I'm hearing from you both about telling about how you collaborate with your clients, how that's a collaboration, because I'm hearing that in the stories that you're telling so far, that you're actually collaborating with your clients. I'd love to learn more about how you do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, they say the student is ready. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
And as I've been going through my journey, I've learned the teacher is the student and the student is the teacher. It goes both ways.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to show up as your best and be your best, it's about being, I call it the curious expert. Is saying I'm an expert in who I am. I'm an expert in my perspective. I'm an expert in my reality and my beliefs, but I can always be curious. I can always learn something new. I can always learn something different.
Mhm.
And one thing that I think me, Diana, and the others that I'm connected with, we all share a very similar thing. We know that we can do it by ourselves, but we can't do it as well by ourselves.
Yeah.
And when I'm allowed, like, it felt weird to be allowed to be me fully and let the other tribe members support around me being me and them doing the same
Right.
thing too. Like, it's a
Right.
constant process. And so when I got into that and understanding, like, Diana trained under John Maxwell as well.
Hmm.
And this culture thing is huge. It's critical. And I didn't even realize, you go through it. When you go through it, you realize it even more. You
Yeah.
have an idea, right? And then someone tells you a story and the story does stick. But when you do it, oh my goodness, it is like it cellularly becomes a piece of who you are. You
Yeah.
can't do anything without the right culture. If you're trying to run on muddy grass and you don't have cleats, you're not going anywhere. I don't care how fast
Great
you are,
example.
how athletic you are, you're
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
Yeah. Great example. Great example. Diana, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I really started getting into, building my coaching part of my business, I really was just working in my accounting and tax preparation. And a lot of times I would sit down with my clients and I would ask them to tell me something great.
Oh,
And it was amazing how many times I would hear, I don't have anything great.
mm,
And then I would say, well, then just tell me a story. And stories are so revealing,
yes.
depending on what you choose to tell, your spin on the story, because of course we all have our own lens of how we perceive,
Right.
different things. And as I would listen to them and they would tell me the story, I would reiterate it back from what I had learned.
Right.
And I would always pick out the lesson, which I think the lesson is the great part. Is it always fun? No.
No.
I often say there are plenty of things in my life that have happened that I wish I had not experienced in the
Right.
moment that I was experiencing them. But I really love who I am today. And I know it's because of all the stuff.
Yeah, it's a result, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in, collaborating with my clients in that, they were able to see a different perspective and see that they truly do have greatness in them. And so that's, I mean, literally I get up every day and I'm like, God, please allow me to make, a positive difference with my words and my actions. And it is about actively listening in order to collaborate and, help others.
Yeah. One thing I heard you both reference up to this point, one thing is about the lessons and the learning. And, we tend to think in terms of success and failures, right? Typically. But all of those failures are not failures. They're learning opportunities, right?
Yes.
We've learned something from each of them. And if we have that mindset that you both talked about a bit there, if we have that mindset, it makes all the difference, doesn't it? Clifford, I can tell you're chomping at the bit to say something.
Well, I'll tell you. So even with Diana talking about the arena and Theodore Roosevelt.
Yes.
Want to get humbled in life? Go into an arena that you're not comfortable in.
Yeah, really.
I tend to get humbled on a regular basis because I'm willing, leaders are just the ones who go first. Literally, that's all it is. Yeah. And then it's you learn and adapt and adjust and figure it out and put it together. And the only reason I'm doing it is I want to live a life worth living. That's what I wanted to do. That was my goal. It wasn't like, oh, well, let me talk about such and such and let me go into the corner and we'll all make fun of this person over here. And I didn't get it before. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. But as I went through my process, I'm like, there's a saying, small minds talk about people. Right. And I don't remember the rest of the saying because that's all I remember on it. But it hit me in such a way that said, oh, you only are talking about someone if you're not actually living your life. If you're living your life, you literally have no time to talk crap about anybody else.
Right.
I love the arena. There's so many lessons in the arena. Yeah. And sometimes the lesson is the brain's way scarier than it has to be. Actually, most of the time, the brain is way scarier than it has to be. Because your brain's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's not safe. Don't do that. Exactly. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna. Oh my goodness, we didn't die.
Its job is to protect us.
Yes,
absolutely.
It tries to do it too well.
Yeah, you said, Clifford, that leaders are willing to be out in the front, but I would add to that good leaders are willing to not only be out in front, take the risk, go first, but to reach back behind them and bring everybody else up with them.
Yep.
Yeah. Diana?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I often say that. I remember because I'm also an author. And when I was meeting with my editors and they said, is this a one and done? And I'm like, no, and I'm talking about greatness. And they were like, well, who is your ideal reader? And I'm like, well, of course, people who are already on a personal growth journey, they'll definitely buy my book. They'll show up at my workshops. And I said, but I want to speak to the unbelievers that don't believe that they have greatness.
Right.
And they were like, oh, that's such a hard, journey, because you're going to be fighting against it. And I said, but I feel the best view is always from the mountaintop. And I would much prefer to bring a bunch of people with me to experience it.
Exactly. Yes, indeed.
Last night, I met this lady and she is 60. And she said that she was very introverted. And that the last 6 months, she has been trying to, push herself out into experiences so that she can meet people and know more people. And she's like, 6 months. I've only been doing this for 6 months. And she kept talking about stepping outside of her comfort zone. And I said, you don't have to step outside your comfort zone. You just have to expand it.
Yes.
Because it is scary to step outside of something unknown.
Right.
But if you just push back up and expand it, it's not as scary.
Exactly. Being a major introvert myself, believe it or not.
No.
I'm on the Myers-Briggs scale. I'm 50-50 introvert extrovert. So I always say I love doing the dog and pony show, but then let me go have my quiet time. Right? But it took me years to get to that place of loving to do that dog and pony show.
Mhm.
It took me years of working on myself to get to that place where I look forward to it. I could do this all day long every day. This is fun.
Right.
Yeah. Because we're making a difference. We're out here making a difference.
Right.
Yeah. We look at there's a saying, your inner world controls your outer world.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it and let the chips fall where they would fall and adjust
Right.
and readjust and do whatever I did. But something as simple as a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing like I would advance relatively quickly in things that I wanted to advance in. And some people they'd hit these points, these lids, and I didn't know why that was. And there was a little black book that I read when I was 19, and I didn't even think about it then. I just read it and I liked it. And it said, you're going to be exactly where you're at from year to year if you don't change two things. And it's the people you meet and the books that you read.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, like, when I talk about humility going up, the first time I saw a drunk person, I was like, what are they doing? They're acting like a fool. What an idiot. Like, control yourself, man. And then I actually felt the feeling of drinking too much, and the control was gone. And all of a sudden I was able to relate. And so I start seeing, like, oh my goodness, like the way we learn is by seeing certain things happen. So
Right.
of course, Diana's going to be the perfect person to me because she's doing what people are saying, you don't do it that way. Don't do it that way. I've been a catalyst of, hey, Cliff, don't do it that way. Well, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm actually going to make it work. And it made people start thinking differently, like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
such and such. And the biggest momentum aha for me was I had a coach, and he was 20 years ahead of me. So he had been that person who had rubbed against the status quo,
Yeah.
who had said, it's supposed to be this way. I'm going to do it this way because I can.
Right.
And I saw him, and I'm like, I was foolish enough to think I was the only one who could do it. I'm not the only one. But when I saw him, I started seeing more of them. And I started seeing them, like, I started intentionally picking them off. And so Tony Robbins talks about our reticular activating system.
Yeah.
Life's about intentionality. So when we get really intentional with what we want and what we want to create, the pieces start coming together because we start actually looking for them. And that's when I focus
subconsciously and consciously.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff. So I go, okay, well, what is the intention? And I'll throw it's happened over and over again. I want to fight in the UFC in less than a year. You can't do that. It's not possible. I'm going to stop stuttering one day. I'm going to lose my weight one day. I'm going to influence 1 billion people. You can't you can't. Okay, you did that one, but not this one. You did that one, but not this one. And it's like, it's a process, just like anything else.
Process. Absolutely. Love that. Something you made me think of too is that the entrepreneurs are the ones who are out there doing what you're talking about, right? I mean, we're the ones bucking the system, if you will. We're doing it our own way. We don't want to do it this guy's way. We want to do it our own way. And we go out there and start our own businesses, and we set out to change the world. Now, not every entrepreneur fits that mold, but many of us do. That we want to change the world, and we want to be a part. For me, it's being a part of that ripple effect. When I help a client make a difference in the world, I'm a part of the ripple that they create as they help other people. And that, just really stirs my passion.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Diana?
I was going to say John Maxwell actually, one, talks about the law of the lid, which I felt like you really touched on, Clifford, which is when you lead, though, you can only lead in that area to where your expertise is. So if you're an 8, everyone you're leading is going to be a 7 or below.
Right.
And so sometimes you need to know, I've led this as far as I can take it.
Yeah.
And then pass the
And
torch.
pass them. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think that's like really great awareness. And John Maxwell also talks about, you know, being a make a difference person, which I really felt like you were saying, Regina. You know, I want to be a make a difference person with people who want to make a difference, with people who want to make a difference, with people who want to make a difference.
Exactly.
Because it is that ripple effect.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't
100%.
take something really huge to make the ripple. It can be a simple drop. And if you don't think that one person can make a difference, then, you know, let's think about Noah who built an ark, right? You
know? There you go. For so many people in history that we can think of, right?
You know, well, I use that reference because actually that was a reference in something that John Maxwell had said.
Okay.
And, you know, it had a funny story behind it, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Another day.
But yeah, one person can make a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. Like I actually calculated the 1 billion, and I didn't know 1 billion was a million times a million. I had no idea, but I ended up learning that and went into, because I was bedridden for 10 days. And when you say learning lessons, oh yeah, you're going to learn them. You don't know when you're going to learn them. You're just going to learn them.
You're going to learn them.
And I had this passion and this mission and this purpose, and I was doing it all by myself, like all of it. I'm like, all right, I don't know what's happening. And so that's the person with the muddy shoes running. And sometimes you have to be the person with the muddy shoes running to know that that's not the best way to do it. You know, you're going to learn something as you go through the process.
Yeah.
And I burnt myself out. Because I actually knew myself so well. What I mean by that, I was getting 4 hours of sleep on a regular basis because I knew that as an athlete, all I need is 4 hours. But what I didn't know was as a father and a husband, kids get sick. And life kind of shows up randomly.
Yeah.
And so when my kid gets sick, I didn't get that 4 hours of sleep. My body fell apart. And I felt it in that moment. I took my kid to the hospital. And I feel off. Like the best way I can describe it, as a fighter, you go through weight cut. And it was like a terrible, terrible weight cut. Like I did everything wrong. And I'm like, holy crap, I feel like garbage. And I didn't collapse until my wife got home. She got home and my body literally collapsed.
You said, I'm done.
As I was saying, this sucks, I was also saying, that's kind of cool that the body can withstand until another individual
until help gets there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I go, our bodies are absolutely amazing.
Yes, indeed. 100% agree. Yeah. What's the most challenging thing that you've dealt with in terms of collaborations? What's been challenging for you?
Diana, I want to hear
anything. Diana's nodding her head.
I'm done. I was just going to say something because I'm like, I can always wait. This is my answer for everything, honestly, is awareness is the hardest in everything.
Okay.
Because if we're not aware of something, one, we're not going to change it.
Right.
Right. Because usually personal growth doesn't happen without adversity. You've got to be moving along, and then something happens. You have to think differently, do differently.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing with awareness, because if you're not aware of what the greatness is, what the problem is, where the strengths are, what your gifts are, any of those things, then you're just kind of like treading water anyway. So once and I always say, once you have awareness, you can't unsee it. So let's
True.
say that it is a limiting belief or something. And it's amazing how a limiting belief will show up in different parts of our life, but differently every single time.
Right.
You
Right.
know, but once you see it, you can stop it from showing up.
Yeah.
Or at least
Absolutely.
truncate it quickly so it doesn't become a weed.
Yeah. Well, and you've got to have that awareness in order to get to that place that you can do anything about it.
Exactly.
If you're not aware of it, it's just going to sit there and do its thing, whatever that is, because you're oblivious to it, right?
Absolutely. And so the trouble becomes, obviously, if we're unaware, right?
Right.
But let's say I'm working with someone and they're unaware, and no matter the direction I try to talk about it, they do not want to see.
Yeah.
They do not want to become aware.
Right.
It is a very long journey.
Yeah. So taking that, how do you pre-qualify somebody you're going to collaborate with so that it's not that long, uncomfortable journey, but it's a joyous ride together? How do you what kind of criteria do you use to make sure that you're getting into collaborations that are going to be productive, fun to do, rewarding, just, the cat's meow. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for myself, it is just spending time with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's asking questions, tell me a story, and then, talking and discussing about it and just seeing, hey, is this something that meshes? Are we on the same, frequency? Can we,
Right.
build on this? And even if we're not completely on the same frequency, is it at least going in the same place? Can we at least see the same thing, even if it's from a different perspective?
Right. I love the tell me a story, because when people start to tell a story, the truth comes out.
Absolutely.
I can remember when I had my staffing firm, and we would use, I can't even think of the name and the type of interviewing now, but an experiential type of interview. Tell me a time when you dealt with X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little side story here. So I had this one gal I was interviewing, and I can't remember what the question was, but the story that came out was just so bizarre, and I would never put her in one of my clients because of the story she told of how she had treated a customer's clients in a previous thing. She had no idea she was shooting herself in the foot with that story. but it's like, but we get into the story and we tell it. And so I love your idea of asking questions and having people tell you about a time when, so that you can see how they interact in those collaborative situations and whether or not they're a fit for you.
Exactly. And with your experience, that you're not asking yes and no questions.
Yeah, not yes and no questions. Absolutely. Ever. Yeah, you're right. Clifford?
So the first thing that comes to mind is, those race cars where the parachutes come out to slow it down, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, you don't want parachutes, right? But you got to be aware that the parachute's even there, and if it's there, you got to cut it off. For me, when it comes to a collaboration, very similar with Sunshine, connecting with them.
Yeah.
Because I talked with Sunshine several times before we actually started collaborating, and when I do that, it just tends to work better than when I just, we'll give it a try. Because I'll have a parachute, and I can't help myself. Like, I want to, remember, proving people wrong, that's like my thing. So if you can't help that person, watch me help this person. And it's
Watch
just
me help this person.
okay, you turned a 5 to a 6, but where are you at now, Cliff? What? So it's looking at all those pieces, and the biggest piece for me is, do they have the heart? Because we're teaching really powerful stuff.
Right.
Transformation can be good or can be bad. People can
Right.
transform in the wrong way too. And if
Good
you're
point.
dealing with someone who doesn't have the heart set for people and they just want to take from people, these are powerful skills, and they can learn how to do that. And so I really just try and figure out who they are, and I do that not by talking to them, because no one's going to say like, "Oh man, I'm a piece of garbage. You don't want to work with me." Like, no one's gonna do it. What I do is let me talk to the people who are closest to that person, and they'll let you know.
Yeah. Now, just to clarify, when you said sunshine, you're talking about Diana, right?
I am talking about Diana's sunshine.
Yeah, that's
For
right.
those who don't know.
Usually my name does say Sunshine Diana Hooker.
Is that right on your label there? Have you ever gotten into a collaboration where you realized maybe you didn't do enough homework to start with, and this is not going to be the collaboration you thought it was going to be? And how did you handle that?
I'll go first.
Diana.
He always refers to the sunshine, right?
Are you saying there was a lack of sunshine at that point? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, definitely a lack.
A little rainy day.
I don't ever believe in being cruel, ever.
Agreed.
So when a collaboration doesn't work, it's just about sitting down and communication, because that's actually one of the number one things that is imperative in collaborations, is being able to communicate with each other, communicate what it is that you want to teach or learn, or whatever. So, and just being really honest, I think that you're awesome. I think that you're amazing. But I think that it would be better if we did our collaborations separately. I think that will benefit more people, in a different arena, and it's not to say that it can't come back around. It's just maybe in that particular one.
In this moment, it's not working.
Yeah. But I just believe honesty and, being, just communicating it.
Right.
This is not working out. And you have to do it from the get-go. You can't wait until you let stuff like really build up and then you become angry.
Right.
Because this is not going the way that I want it to go. They're not doing what I want to do, it's, or whatever, whatever the case is. Just say, what, can we try this differently? And if it's still not working, what? Let's just
time to
ways. I wish you the best of success. I know you'll be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've even said, let me refer others to you to take my place, because this isn't going to work, for whatever reasons.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me, because I do that as well. I'm like, here, I think this person would be a much better fit for you. Absolutely.
Right. And you do wish them well. It's just not working between the two of you for whatever reason. It's not working between the two of you. Yeah. Clifford, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I fired people before, and I let them know why I'm firing them, because I want them to win, right?
Right.
And maybe I'm just not the person to win with. I don't know. Like it's always that as well. But yeah, I'm very, very intentional, and there have been times where I stayed in things longer than I should stay in them. And as Diana's talking about, you'll stay in it and your mind will literally justify it. Like you'll justify the time that you're putting into what you're putting into.
Right.
And we're so good at picking out other people making mistakes. Right? We're great at this.
No.
This person's doing this, this person's doing that. And it's like, but when you're in it, you can justify, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing that. And so having a team by your side supporting you and holding you to the fire so that you do get to your goals, that really supports me. And I say really supports me because I am a person that I can't help myself but to want a person to win, even if it's in spite of the actions that I'm taking. And that's what I had to learn about me. It's a strength because I can pour inspiration into someone, but it can also be a curse because I'll try and drag someone across the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we know ourselves, we have the best chance of I call it the semi-permeable membrane, where we want to bring the people in that serve us and help us
Right.
grow, and we want to
Right.
have that barrier to cut off the ones who are not going to be
That
such
don't. Yeah. You mentioned firing people. You made me think of a story when I had my staffing firm and I had to let one of my gals go, and I walked her out to her car, helped her carry her things out to her car. You know, I mean, it was a very loving parting of company. And you know, I'm in my mind's eye, I'm still seeing us standing at her car with her hugging me and thanking me. You
Mhm.
know,
That's awesome.
I mean, those don't happen every day, right?
Yeah.
But if we treat people properly, they can happen.
Yeah, you know, like,
Yeah.
I really believe you can fire someone so civilly, because one of the clients that I did fire, he came back 3 years later. It was literally
Yeah.
3 years.
Wow.
And I asked him a question. I go, what would you do if you were sitting in my spot and I was you? What would you do?
Right.
He actually answered it perfectly. He's like, well, first I want to see results and detailed results on if I've changed, and show me the results and prove that I changed. It's a pretty good answer.
Wow.
Right. Do
Nice.
you have it?
Nice.
And he had it. He had the data points and everything.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's not employees and partners and things like that. Sometimes it's clients you have to let go.
Mhm.
And again, lead them on to somebody else that can serve them better when you're not a fit. Been there, done that. Much rather not take them on to start with than have to fire them later.
Right.
It doesn't always work out that way.
This was not too long ago, actually. I want to say about 6 months ago. So I'm walking in the front room and I'm like, Eureka, I figured it out. And my wife's looking at me like, what are you talking about? I go, this game doesn't get any easier. You just get smarter at playing it. Like that's it. You learn to cut off things faster. You learn to act better. You learn to be decisive. You learn to do all the things that you need to do so you can step in your arena and look good when you step in it. No one wants to look like a fool when they're stepping in their arena. They want to have purpose when they're stepping in their arena.
Exactly. Yeah. Diana, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts going through my head right now. It's like kind of like one of those whirling, things where I'm like, oh, which one do I choose to focus on? And actually, I'm going to go back to what you were saying earlier, Regina, when you said that you had, fired someone, you walked them out to the car, and that they hugged you and thanked you.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people should actually be thankful when they've been given that opportunity, us as well, right?
Right.
Because so many times we will stay in something because it's
That's not right. Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's comfortable, not because we're good at it. Not
right.
and when I say comfortable, I don't mean because it is cozy.
Right.
It's just something that we know,
It's not stretching us.
Right, and we're fearful of what's on the other side of that.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, so many times, there are so many other opportunities available, but we're staying with what we know.
Yeah.
And so anytime we can have those transitions, we should be thankful.
Yeah.
Because we probably needed that little push.
Right.
To really pursue something that's better suited for us.
Right.
And so that was really the thought that was like just twirling in my head. I was like going, yeah. We should just be thankful for being fired.
Well, so we're not serving them if we leave them in those spots where when they're not being stretched, where they're not.
Right. Well, right. Of course, that too. Yeah. But again, going back to communication. So, in this one organization, there was this one employee that everybody just struggled to get along with.
Right.
She was just very difficult, very negative. I mean, no one socialized with her just because of her attitude and just her demeanor and everything about her. And so her boss pulled her in, and instead of saying, he had been tasked with letting her go.
Right.
Said, what's going on?
Yeah.
And we took the moment to find out that there was a lot of things going on in her personal life, and it was coming out at work.
Right.
And so then when they determined that and they could actually help her through the things that were going on,
Yeah.
her personality changed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a twofold. Yes, we can stretch, because sometimes we just need to be able to ask for help, or other people
Right.
to ask for
Right.
help. And this is true in collaborations too, because I think most people probably feel like they don't want to say, I don't know.
Correct.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But it's okay to do that. And we can all jump in and say, okay, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, so it's about that communication, asking for the help. And then if it's still not a fit, then you can move on. But like that, one of the things I said at the beginning is I use tools to help identify people's superpowers, their gifts.
Right.
So put them in their giftedness. I believe everybody will shine.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's so important in an organization that you spend that time up front understanding the personality of that individual and how they fit into the culture, how they fit into the position, and knowing kind of the overall organization. And this, when I had my staffing firm, we used a personality profile that was over 90% predictive of success on the job. And so we were able to look at each person and see the strengths that they brought. And when there was conflict, we were able to look at those personality profiles side by side and say, oh, it's this area right here that's the problem. You need to understand how each other approach this area differently.
Exactly.
And that creates compassion, or creates understanding. Understanding creates compassion.
Yes.
And then we can get along so much better.
So
we can do that.
And we're not standing alone, right? Collaboration does mean more than one, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. It has been so much fun having the two of you on here today. I really appreciate getting to know you, Diana, and get to know you better, Clifford, and look forward to maybe having you on the show again. I would love that.
Oh, awesome. I would love to be on it again.
That's awesome. Awesome. The hour goes quickly.
I know it does.
But we do need to call it to a halt here. So Clifford, I am going to turn it over to you to do our wrap-up round. If you would share your final thoughts about collaboration and your contact info. And if you'll pop it into the chat, I will make sure that it's in the public comments so that folks can, oh dear. I just saw that our stream was not showing up on LinkedIn. Well, hopefully it did get recorded properly, and we'll make sure it gets out there on LinkedIn. Awesome. But if you'll put your contact information in the chat, I'll make sure it gets out into the public comments. But yeah, if you'll do that, and then have Diana share hers, your wrap-up information and contact info.
So final thoughts with collaboration: know who you want to work with, then work with them. You get to find something out, whether if you should keep working together or not work together. But take the action to do that. To contact me, you can find me on Facebook Messenger. Just type in Clifford Starks. I think I'm the first one that pops up. The same is true with LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. And I'm not going to give my new email out quite yet because Regina, we had talked about the other cluttered email. So I'm going to be very intentional with who I give that one out to. But I will just type in Clifford Starks, and I don't have my links on me at the moment.
Oh, that's okay. We can add them later to the comments if we need to. That'll be fine. All
right, I'm ready. Awesome. All right, Diana Sunshine in the house. Collaborations.
Yeah. Final thoughts on the collaboration. We as humans are made to be a community of people. And we strive so much more, and we can do so much more when we do it together. So find like-minded people who want to accomplish the same things. And like Regina said, make a difference in other people's life. Be the ripple, be a part of the ripple that helps expand greatness. because we are
Absolutely.
truly all designed for greatness. And we need to live in that as much as we possibly can, because we're not promised tomorrow. So we need to live each day to the fullest. And why not live it fullest with a collaboration of people who believe the same thing, or at least in the same arena, right?
Right.
At least in the same arena, and want to show up and make a difference. And the best way to get in touch with me, I mean, I'm definitely on all the social media platforms as well, LinkedIn, Instagram, and as well as Facebook, Living Your Greatness. I do have a website, which is a great way to connect with me, because I have links where people can actually schedule calls with me. And
Okay.
we talk for 30 minutes. And it's livingyourgreatness.net. And I also have a call with Diana.com, because as Clifford mentioned, I have an in the arena workshops that I do at least once a month, where I give some really great content on leadership, personal growth, and help people live in their greatness.
I love it.
It's free.
I love it. I have a quick question, a final question for both of you.
Yeah.
Because this is the stuff I love, right? And the collaboration and being part of the ripple effect and all of that. If you were to rate your energy levels, I've never asked anybody this, but if you were to rate your energy level right now with what it was an hour ago, what would those two ratings be?
Well, I'm going to say my rating is a 10, 10 plus. And I will be honest, before I got on the call, I was relaxing. So my energy level was actually lower.
Lower, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because
I do.
So I had to come into the arena.
Right.
So I would say I probably went from like a 6 to a 10 plus.
To a 10 plus. Awesome. How about you, Clifford?
So I was an 8, and I have a speech called "What is your next 11?" Next 11, because there's always a new 11 to go to. So whenever I get around people, I'm going up to that 11. I'm going up to my next 11.
Yeah.
So definitely 11.
I love it. This energizes me so much to be around like-minded people, to work with my clients. All of that is so energizing. And so I just thought that would be fun to see.
I actually do want to thank you, Regina, for allowing us on the platform to serve your community, and amazing questions. Thank you so much.
Well, you guys, you were both amazing. Thank you for being here. It's been my pleasure. So folks, we'll see you next time on Collaboration Conversations. Bye for now.